The Beaufort Historical Association, dedicated to the research and interpretation of the culture, architecture, and history of Beaufort and Carteret County. The Beaufort Historic Site, owned and operated by the Beaufort Historical Association, a private nonprofit organization, is almost 2 acres within the heart of the town's historic district, containing 9 restored 18th and 19th century buildings, plus a visitor center.
Beaufort is actually the 3rd oldest town in North Carolina. It was established in 1709. A man by the name of Robert Turner actually purchased land here, and he had the town surveyed in 1713. So when we talk about the history anywhere of any place, dates are always important. But there's another date that's very important here at the historic site, and that's 1960. In 1960, 5 people got together and established the Beaufort Historic Association. They saw, even in those days, and that's been over 50 years ago, that things were beginning to change here, and they were very much interested in preserving the history of this little town. You know, we talk about show and tell. We could always tell about Beaufort and its history and recall all the dates and what have you. But in order to show people what's here and what was here, it would be nice to have some of the original historic buildings. And that's part of what the Historic Association was able to do.
Not only can visitors spend the day discovering the Beaufort Historic Site, living history programs, and tours, the site serves as an important educational tool for school children from throughout North Carolina.
We do a lot of field trips. In fact, especially in the fall, there's 4th graders come through. They learn how to dip candles. They will learn how to milk a cow. They will learn how to churn butter. And we show them how to bake and how, in the old way, in the fireplace, open hearth. And we even have a kindergarten program. There's a community Thanksgiving meal that's here also. And we also do school groups that just want to come and learn colonial games, learn about different buildings. The jail's a very big favorite with them, and probably with their teachers, so they can threaten them. I'm sure that they will threaten to leave them there if they don't behave. So that happens here as well.
All right, can you put it in the basket?
You're gonna have a lot of.
Who likes lettuce?
Oh, me.
Me. I think we're gonna have a lettuce salad with carrots and beets on the side. All right, that's a great job. Thank you guys so much for helping.
Let's keep on doing it. Let's get some basil.
Some basil? Basil and tomatoes. Oh, we don't have any tomatoes yet, but we can do the basil.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
This would be good dinner.
Thousands and thousands of years. That's how they made thread to make cloth, and that's longer and much stronger than the little wispy threads we had. And this, where is it? This is what I'm working with. This is wool. Where do we get wool?
Sheep.
Good, very good. And this is from the sheep, all right? And so after a long, long time, somebody invented the spinning wheel, and that was much easier. It went faster, and see, I took my shoe off so I could work the wheel.
Located within the historic site is the oldest wood-framed courthouse in North Carolina.
We're standing in the Carteret County Courthouse of 1796. To put that time period in perspective, George Washington was still President of the United States. The bloody French Revolution was still going on, and a young Army officer was named Napoleon Bonaparte was clawing his way to power. This courthouse was originally positioned in the intersection of Turner and Ann Street, and it was used as a courthouse until 1839. This is a courthouse called the Courthouse of Pleas and Quarter Sessions, and that means it's like a civil court. Plaintiffs could come in and plead their case before 3 magistrates, who were usually family fathers. and plead their case, and they would meet quarterly. That's where the Court of Sessions came from. That particular type of court law was based on Old English law, which is no longer in effect.
A popular attraction at the site is the 1859 apothecary shop and doctor's office.
This is the apothecary that was built here in Beaufort in 1859. In the early 60s, a man by the name of Josiah Benjamin Davis became a doctor here, and then he eventually passed it on to his son, George Davis, in the early 1900s. And the neatest thing about this particular building and doctor's office was that George used this building until 1936, which is quite neat because there are people in town that actually remember coming to Dr. Davis, and we do have information from descendants who have been able to tell us exactly what it looked like in here when they were here as children. And he's also able to give us some information about the Davis family.
Our docents agree that one of the most fascinating buildings toured by adults and children alike is the 1829 Carteret County Jail.
Welcome to the jail of 1829. It was used until 1954. When it was moved here all in one piece from down on Courthouse Square. And it weighs about 500 tons. It cost about $2,400 to build. It housed men and women, but separately. Outside here we have the pillory, which you might have been sentenced to be in, and you could have even had your ears pinned, depending on what your offense had been. So here we have, if you look up top here, you'll see a noose hanging. We do have records of one person having been hanged in the jail. Hangings usually took place outside. They were public events, but there was a lot of notoriety that went with this, so they decided to do it in the jail. Now the railing and the steps are different than they would have been back at the time of the hanging. The person would have been dropped from the upstairs floor down.
One of the most recognizable buildings within the Beaufort Historic Site is the yellow 1825 Josiah Bell House, acknowledged as one of the finest Victorian restorations on the East Coast.
It is one of two original homes on the historic site. Josiah Bell and his wife Mary Fisher Bell raised 3 children in this house, and we know by the size of it and the appointment of it that he was a very important person here in Carteret County. He was a justice in the courthouse, he was a tax lister, and he used to buy and sell property, which probably led to why his house is so significant.
The award-winning restoration of the 1825 John C. Manson House sits on its original site and is an excellent example of the Bahamian architecture prevalent in Beaufort.
Manson was a naval captain during the War of 1812. And he visited Beaufort during that period, kind of fell in love with the town. So when he retired, he came back to Beaufort. Now we know it's an 1825 house. There was one period of time when the BHA first acquired it. This is actually the first building acquired by the BHA in 1964. And the BHA was founded in February of 1960. My father was one of the founders of the BHA. just put a pun in here. Anyhow, it was the first building, and when they originally thought it was a Joseph Bell house, believe it or not, built sometime in the middle after Bell acquired this property in 1757. Well, it really wasn't this house, and for a while the BHA kept going like that until we had to do a major restoration work on this house, which we did right after we did the courthouse.
In addition, the site features the Mattie King Davis Art Gallery, the oldest art gallery in Carteret County, located within the 1732 Rustle House, featuring juried works by over 100 local and regional artists. There's the Robert W. and Elva Faison Seyfried Historical Center, the welcome center for the town of Beaufort. Found here are historic artifacts, special displays, living history programs, demonstrations from local artisans, and visitor information. Located within the Seyfried Visitor Center is the Old Beaufort Shop, featuring gifts, books, souvenirs, and handmade items for purchase. Visitors can tour the entire Beaufort Historic District aboard our 1967 English double-decker bus, with local narrators noting points of interest and entertaining riders with stories and legends of 18th and 19th century Beaufort. Visitors won't want to miss the old burying grounds, owned by the town of Beaufort and maintained and managed by the Beaufort Historical Association. The burying grounds is listed on the National Register of Historic Places, the resting place of many historic figures. Its weathered tombstones chronicle the heritage of Beaufort and the surrounding coast of North Carolina. You can be an integral part of the Beaufort Historic Site and help experience, preserve, and maintain the history and culture of coastal North Carolina. Become a member of the Beaufort Historical Association, a financial contributor, or volunteer. For more information on how you can contribute and have fun with history, call us at 252-728-5225 or toll free at 1-800-575-7483. Or you can visit us on our website at beauforthistoricsite.org.